Hi everyone, welcome to day one of Festival of the Future. I don't want to leave any more time just to make sure Craig has enough time to talk. If you look in the Q&A, I put some details in there for anyone who wants to know about any hashtags or whether the session is being recorded, which it is. If you've got any questions throughout the session, feel free to stick them in there, and if we have time, we'll get through to them at the end. Without any wasting more time, I'll hand over to Craig, who's going to introduce all things leadership.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Absolute honour and a pleasure to talk to you today about leadership. So, a little bit about myself and Living Your Learning. So, I'm from Living Your Learning. So Living Your Learning is a training and development company based in the historic dockyard in Portsmouth, and we specialise in leadership development, team development, personal and professional effectiveness. We do a lot of work with leaders, and what I want to share with you today is our take based on many years of experience in many organisations within the corporate world, having led teams ourselves and myself, and now also helping leaders and organisations lead better themselves through Living Your Learning. I just want to share with you my take on leading in a digital world. So we're going to be covering three main areas today, and I want to give you some thoughts, some inspiration, some ideas for how leaders can be better, how as leaders we can be better, and how we can lead in a digital age and a digital world. So we're going to cover three main areas today, as I said. I want to look at the challenges that leaders are facing. So I just want to touch on a few of those and some challenges to maybe watch out for. I also want to have a little bit of a chat about what leadership actually is, what real leadership actually is, because regardless of whether you're in a digital world or any other kind of world, leadership is leadership wherever you are. So I really want to emphasize that for you later as well. And then the third and final section of our talk will be around some ideas and some actions that leaders can take in order to lead more effectively and more with more impact in a digital world, so we can lead our businesses, our organizations and our communities, whatever they are, and whichever you're leading, in a much better and more impactful way. So without further ado, let me crack on. So first of all, let's have a look at some challenges that are facing leaders at the moment, and not just in a digital world, but with everything that's going on at the moment. And I think with COVID and lockdown and restrictions, leadership has become ever more important, and as leaders we've had to rely more on digital tech and digital approaches. I mean, hell, we're even talking now through technology, and a lot of the leaders I've been talking to and helping over the past few months have really said what a challenge it is. But I've actually challenged back to them and said, yeah, it might be a challenge, but why are you doing or why are you approaching it any differently? In fact, I think there's more of an opportunity to be great leaders, and we shouldn't necessarily use these challenges as an excuse. So let's have a look at some of these challenges anyway, so you know what to watch out for, and you know some of the things that we really need to be aware of, and we need to be mindful of when being as good a leader as possible. So there's this whole thing around generations X, Y, and Z. I'm sure we all know what they are. So these are people that are born within certain time frames. So you get Generation X, which are sometimes known as the baby boomers. So I haven't got the exact years in my head. I probably should have remembered them, but we're talking about people that were probably born in the 60s and 70s. We got Generation Y, which were born up until around the 80s or 90s, and then we've we've got Generation Z who were born from, I believe, if my memory serves correctly, from mid-90s onwards. Now, the reason I wanted to mention these is because the expectations of all the different generations is going to be wildly different. Each of those generations has different expectations of leaders, and all of these different generations and types of people have to be led in a slightly different way. And it's really, really important to understand what these different generations like and what these different generations expect. So it's really important, I'll mention this later, that generations do flex and adapt their styles to suit these particular generations, and all of these generations will use tech and digital in different ways as well. And it's really important that leaders appreciate that and are able to lead the people in the way that these people need to be led. And I'll touch on that later, because I think it's really important for leaders to understand that being a leader is not about the leader. It's not about us or you as a leader. It's about the people that are being led, and it's important that people are led in the way that works for them and brings out the best in them. We'll talk more about that later. Another challenge is motivation and buy-in. I've come across this a lot recently, actually, particularly with everything we've been experiencing over the past few months, and what we will continue to experience over the coming months. Is motivation is taking a hammering, and leaders are trying to find ways to motivate their people and get buy-in to change and what's going on and what needs to happen, because people don't like that, and they fear the change. Well, firstly, and again, we will touch on this again in a bit, but stop trying to motivate people. You can't. You can force people to do stuff, so to speak, but that's getting them to do something they don't want to do. Motivation has to come from within the person, so a leader has to be able to create the right environment to motivate their people. And again, we'll talk more about that later. And then getting buy-in. The world is changing at a fast pace. The world as it is today, as it was just 6 months ago, is different, and we need to be bringing our people along with us, and it's our jobs and responsibilities as leaders to do that. So that is a huge challenge for leaders, and it's one we need to step up and meet head on. Agility and adaptability is also a key challenge. I've seen many businesses in my local area that have sadly not survived what's happened recently. Could they have survived if they had adapted and changed their approach and become more agile rather than sticking to what they traditionally always did? I think they may have had a chance. And I think in the digital age, the digital world, and with what's going on at the moment, agility and being agile and being able to adapt is absolutely crucial. And we have to develop our people and develop our businesses and organizations and communities to be able to do that. And it's our jobs as leaders to bring people with us and to help them through that. Another huge challenge at the moment, many people no doubt recognize this, and this has probably affected us all at some point, and definitely the people we're leading within our businesses, organizations or communities, is well-being and mental health. It is absolutely taking a hammering. People are really struggling. Here at LYL, we deliver a lot of mindset workshops and webinars, and we do mindset coaching for individuals and leaders, business owners, because people are really struggling. That's got to be really high up on the agenda, really high up. And every single leader I speak to with the businesses and organizations and communities that we work with here at LYL are saying that people are suffering. So we really need to keep an eye on that, and we need to put that top of the agenda. It can't be something that's a nice to have or lower down. It's got to be really high. Communication and connection. This is such an important one. I was asking a leader just this morning, when was the last time you spoke to your team? Oh, I try and speak to them every day on Microsoft Teams. Okay, when was the last you spoke to them individually? Oh, we don't really have time. Everything's so busy. When was the last time they actually saw you? Or sometimes we'll do a video call, but probably not for a few weeks. Communication and connection at the moment and in the digital age is absolutely key, and there's no excuse for it not to happen. In fact, I think there's more reason for it to happen rather than not happen. Just because you're not in the physical space, it doesn't mean you can't connect and communicate. There are so many tools out there that we can use for that. And this one's really is closely linked to the next one, which is remote working. A lot of teams are working from home at the moment, or they're split up in different counties, different cities, different towns, different countries. And as a leader, we have to make sure that we are connecting and communicating with our teams that are spread out, that we are visible, that we're not hiding behind the tech, we're not hiding behind digital, and almost becoming, dare I say, a lazy leader. Because as leaders, we are there predominantly for our people. We're not there for us. We are there for our people, and I'll talk more about this in a bit, but I think we really need to get used to the fact that a leader's job is to look after their people and to get the best out of them, not just to focus on the jobs list. Social media and technology, I think this is a huge challenge at the moment. So with social media, I think we can all live our lives, our businesses, our organizations and our communities through this social media bubble. And I think it puts a different perspective on things and can distort things and just distort reality even. So we have to be really, really mindful of that. And while social media is really, really great for building communities and for bringing people together, it's also really good at, but not in a good way, excuse the pun, it's really good at driving people apart as well. I know so many people that are really, really struggling with social media, and it's really affecting their mental health and well-being. And technology as well, I think it can be a challenge, because going back to our generations X and Y and Z, the generation Zers, the youngsters, they've been almost born with a mobile device in their hand or a tablet. A lot of little ones, they know how to use a tablet before they can even walk. So technology is not an issue for them, but there are plenty of people in the older generations, particularly Generation X, and to a certain extent some Generation Y as well, who are not comfortable with that technology. So we have to help people to get used to that technology and to embrace it, because it really can help and it can really make a difference. Technology should be a help, not a hindrance. But I think sometimes how we use it can make it a hindrance rather than help. We've also got the fourth industrial revolution to consider. There's a lot of theory and talk out there that says we are coming into this year, the fourth industrial revolution, which is obviously all about tech and automation and AI and all of that stuff. We have to be really, really mindful of that. Jobs are changing. The jobs that existed even 10 years ago maybe aren't there anymore. So we have to be really mindful that our people stay relevant and that they're still contributing. So the fourth industrial revolution is a challenge, and it's something to consider, because we're going to have to develop people and develop their skills for what's coming in the next 10, 15, 20 years, because what they're doing now is going to change, and we have to have visibility of that and to anticipate that. But having said that, we've been through, if we're saying we're going to the fourth industrial revolution, we've had 3 already and we got through those okay. So let's not see this digital world or digital age as something that's a problem and something that we necessarily have to fundamentally do things differently, because I think if we do that, we can there's the danger of the 9th one, which is neglecting culture and community and bringing people together rather than driving them apart. Let's not forget, it's still all about people. All of our businesses, all of our organizations, all of our communities are set up by people for people in order to provide something and to impact people. But I think sometimes we forget about that, and it's all about the stuff, or the jobs list, or the profit, or the bottom line. we can't, as leaders, we can't get sucked into that. So there's some challenges to think about, and I challenge you guys that are listening or watching back on replay, to think about these things. Think about, what are you doing to meet these challenges? What are you going to do differently? What can you improve and do better in order to make sure that all of these areas are embraced and maximized to their full potential, rather than become issues and challenges. So they're the challenges. Let's now define what, in my humble opinion, real leadership is. So I've been a leader. I've led large learning and development functions and teams in large organizations. I now lead and run a business. I help organizations develop leaders now through Living Your Learning. And for me, leadership is absolutely key. It is absolutely crucial. But there's a key thing to think about leadership, and I think sometimes these get mixed up, and they're two very, very separate things. Leadership is not the same as management. They're two very different skill sets and two different hats that you have to wear, sometimes at the same time. For me, management is about stuff. It's about process. It's about procedures. It's about policies. It's about planning. It's about projects. You manage stuff. You should never ever manage another human being. In fact, ask yourself this question, and I always ask leaders in the workshops and leadership programs that we deliver. I always ask this question: would you rather be led, or would you rather be managed? If you're ever having to manage another human being, there's something very wrong, and something is not right. You might have to manage performance, but you don't manage the person. They're very different things. Leadership is about the people. You lead the people, but you manage the stuff. And I'll be going through some stuff in a bit, which will really emphasize the things that leaders should be doing to lead people. What else is leadership about? Well, for me, leadership is leadership wherever you are, whether it's a digital age, whatever type of company or business or organization or community you're in. Leadership is leadership because it's about people. It's about getting the very best from people. It's about helping people reach their full potential. So what that means is, as leaders, one of our primary responsibilities is to develop people. Yes, we need to be thinking about the outcomes, of course we do, but how about we lead the stuff so people can manage the outcomes and achieve the outcomes? We need to be developing our people. We also need to be really great communicators. What we also need to be as leaders is we need to have the very best behaviors, the very best attitudes. Because real leadership for me is a way of thinking. So our own emotional intelligence, I'll be talking more about this in a minute. Our own emotional intelligence is absolutely key. Our own mindset, having a real leadership mindset is really key, which is all about the impact we have on our people. Being servant leaders, I'm a huge fan and we're huge advocates of servant leadership here at LYL. But being a servant leader doesn't mean you do everything for your people. It means you enable your people. It means you create community. You look after them so that they can be the very best they can be and they can get the stuff done. That's what a leader's job is. And through the leadership mindset and a leadership way of thinking, as a leader, you'll then act in the right way, behave in the right way, and then also communicate in the right way. Real leadership is a way of thinking, it's a way of acting, and it's a way of communicating. And if you get it right in here, what comes out externally and how you behave and how you talk and how you communicate will be good. Communication is key. Being visible is key. Telling your people what's going on, giving them the information. Yes, there might be some stuff they don't need to know about, but of all of the organizations I've worked for and I work with now, one of the most damaging things is a lack of transparency and what I call the secret squirrels, which creates, the gossip and the Chinese whispers and the insecurity. it's really important that leaders communicate really well, and they're really clear on direction and strategy, and stuff like that. And I'll talk more about some other bits in just a second. Leadership is also about relationships. Leadership is not a title or a rank. If you need to ask yourself, why am I a leader? Am I a leader for other people, or am I a leader for me? Am I a leader for what it does for me, or for what it does for others? And I think we really need to be honest about that, because if you want to be a leader for the job title and the kudos and the salary, then please stop being a leader, because that's not what it's about. Being a leader is about your impact on your people and the world that you're in, whether that's your business, your organization, your community. That's what it's about. So let's talk about some strategies and techniques for leading in a digital world. As I said, for me, leadership is leadership wherever you are. So I almost want to take the word digital out, but obviously this is got a digital context and a digital theme to it. But if I'm going to be really honest with you guys, leadership is leadership wherever you are, whether you're in a digital world or any kind of world. Leadership and leadership principles are the same. Yes, in a digital world we might have slightly different tools to deliver our message and look after our people and enable our people, but just because we might have to use technology to do that, it doesn't make it any less important, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. If I had £1 for every leader I've worked with that says to me, oh Craig, I can't spend any time doing one-to-ones or coaching because all my team are working at home. Rubbish, garbage. It's an excuse. There's no reason why, as leaders, we shouldn't be spending time with our people and coaching them and doing one-to-ones and reviews and appraisals and all the stuff that we need to do as a leader in order to get the very best out of our people and enable them, and also to help them to reach their full potential, because we need our people to be making the most of their lives, not just helping us do what needs to be done for our businesses, organizations or communities. It's got to make a difference to them as well. So whether it's in a digital world or otherwise, leadership isn't the same. And should leaders be doing anything different just because it's digital? I don't think so. The mediums are different and the delivery might be slightly different, but the principles are the same. So I'm going to go through some of the most important things that I feel are key to great leadership. The first one is vision. A leader needs to have vision and needs to be able to create a vision, or even a group of leaders if it's a bigger business or organization or community. Vision is key. Now, my take on vision, and I've helped quite a few organizations very recently even, really think about their vision and what vision means to them. And without fail, every single organization, when we talk about vision and defining vision, all they come up with is a goal or objective. Our vision is to be the best company in the world. No, that's not really a vision. That is an objective. It's a good objective, but it's not a vision. A vision for me is this. A vision is about creating a better or different future world. It's a destination, so you have to be able to see it in your mind's eye, hence the word vision. You have to be able to imagine it. You have to be able to transport yourself there in your imagination and feel it, see it, hear it. So when we're thinking about vision and creating a vision which gives people that direction of where they're heading, they have to be able to imagine and see the world that you're trying to create and build. And they have to want to be a part of that. If they don't want to be a part of that, you're never going to get people in your business, organizations or communities that are going to give everything. Because having that sense of direction and being a part of creating that better or different future world. And when I say world, it doesn't have to be the whole planet. It can be your own organization, your town, your community, your village, your country, whatever your world is, however you define it, that's what it is. And people need to be on board with that. And they need to know where they're heading and what they're creating. Simply just meeting a arbitrary objective is not enough, because what happens when you become a $1 billion or £1 billion company? How are you going to measure that you're the best company in the world? I see so many visions that we're going to be the best company in the world. Yeah, it's a good vision, but how are you going to measure it? How are you going to know that you're there? Vision is so much more than that, and it's so much more powerful. What else is important? Purpose. Purpose, or as I like to say, your why. This is absolutely critical, and it's the purpose that helps bring the vision to life. The purpose is what you do every single day, day in, day out. Your purpose for your business, your organization, or your community is why you exist, why you get out of bed in the morning, why you go into the office or go to work. It's your contribution that you make every single day to the impact that you have on other people's lives or the world or your community. I was with, and this example always springs to mind. I was with an organisation down in Devon. This was last year, doing some leadership development, delivering a leadership program for them, and they're a manufacturing company. And I asked them, why does this organization exist? And not one of them could answer me. I then asked them, why do you do this job or pays the bills? Well, that's not a purpose. That's just an outcome. And I get that we all work to pay the bills, but you know, boy, is that depressing, and boy, is that so uninspiring. You know, I've had jobs where you just do it because you have to, because you got to pay the bills. That doesn't inspire people, and it certainly doesn't make people feel good and help them to give their best. What people really need to understand is why their job exists. What contribution are they making? What impact are they having on people's lives? Anyway, getting back to the story about the company in Devon, I said, oh, so what do you guys do? And they basically made air filters that went in jumbo jets, that went in breathing equipment, in hospitals, and you know, babies breathing equipment and ventilators and stuff like that. So I said, wow, that's really, really cool. So every single one of you helps to save lives. And they all looked at me, and I said, well, if these air filters weren't in these different machines and stuff, that's going to seriously impact somebody's life, isn't it? And I went, well, yeah. And I said, well, does anyone remember when they walked through the gates that day they are going to impact somebody's life, regardless of whether they're in the admin office or whether they're on the shop floor or whether they're making something or whether they're leading someone? We are all impacting other people's lives, whether it's our colleagues, our teammates, the rest of the company, our customers. We all have an impact on people's lives, and understanding and defining that sense of purpose as leaders for our people is absolutely crucial. It really, really does make a difference. Because after all, and if anyone's heard of Simon Sinek, you might be familiar with this, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I strongly recommend, if you haven't, check out Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Go onto YouTube after this, type in Simon Sinek, Start With Why, and watch his TED Talk, which is about 18 minutes long, which explains the principle. It is absolutely phenomenal, because when people understand their why, they understand the impact they're going to have, and when your customers do as well, which is so important, it actually impacts us in a really clever way. It actually drives decisions, it drives behavior, it encourages and improves trust and loyalty, because when people communicate from a sense of purpose, and when they do things from a sense of purpose, it connects with us emotionally, and it's our emotions that drive our decisions and our behavior. So people don't buy what you do because they can get that anywhere. They buy why you do it, and it's not just, you know, a purchase or a sale thing. It's buying people, it's buying into companies and organizations and communities as well. People buy the impact, they buy how it makes them feel, not just the what. But we always just start with what. So try starting with why. Talk about and identify that sense of purpose, that why is really, really powerful. Values are also critical, and again, at LYL, we help a lot of organizations identify, well, all of these things, vision, purpose and values, but values is an important one. And what values are, I always say to organizations, they're so much more than words on a wall or words on a website or in a leaflet or a brochure. And the same goes with vision and purpose, because quite often organizations will come up with, you know, vision, purpose and values, and they put them up somewhere, and then nobody knows what they mean. Nobody forgets them. So as leaders, we have to make sure that our people really understand the vision, really understand the purpose and the impact they're having, and really understand values. Values are behaviors, they are verbs, they are doing words, they are not just words on a wall. We were working with an organization a couple of years ago, and they actually did have values on their wall in their open plan office. And we walked around the office and just went up to people around, and he said, oh, so that value that's up on the wall, what does it mean? Don't know. That value, what does it mean? Don't know. Complete waste of time. Values are verbs, behaviors and actions that people demonstrate every single day, that brings the purpose to life, that helps you create that vision, that world that you're trying to build. Values are so important. They're behaviors and actions that enable your purpose and builds the world you want to create. That's what values are. It dictates our actions. And the other thing about values as well is they can become and be used as filters through which to make decisions. So if what you're doing as a team, as a business, organization or community does not relate to or does not link to your values, you can use that as a decision of whether to do something or not. Same with the purpose and same with the vision. If they don't all correlate, you can use them as filters through which to make decisions. And certainly when I'm not feeling good or things aren't feeling right here at LYL, which happens, it happens in all businesses and organizations and communities, and there's something that's not quite working right, you can bet your bottom dollar, if you go and revisit your vision, purpose and values, there may be something in there that's not quite working, and you're not doing something that either correlates with your values or helps you bring your purpose to life or is helping you create that world. Values are so important. As leaders, we need to help our people understand them and demonstrate them. We need to help them have that impact so we can build that world that we're heading towards. And this is another really great way of looking at it, because when we have a great vision and purpose and values, we can build great organizations and businesses from the top down, and everyone knows how they communicate. So our vision at the top is, this is the world we want to create. From that should become our strategy or our organizational outcomes. So what is it we need to achieve as a company, as a community, as an organization that helps meet that vision above? Moving down a level. As a result of that strategy, those organizational outcomes, what is it that people need to do? What is it they need to say? How is it they need to behave? What actions do they need to take? What outcomes and measurable specific outcomes do they need to be doing in order that the strategy and organizational outcomes are met, in order that the world that we want to create is built? And then the foundational, all of that, and holding all of that together is that purpose, the contributions we're making every single day for the impact on the people we serve, our customers and communities, and values. They are underpinning everything within our businesses, organizations and communities. Every single person, from the person right at the top of the tree to the person at the coalface, needs to know and needs to fully understand how they contribute to everything going upwards, and everything starting at the top needs to filter all the way down, and it goes up and down. And what this also enables you to do is to make sure that you're creating the right strategy and outcomes, and that people are doing what they need to do, and that people can see how they're contributing. There's a famous story of when President Kennedy visited NASA, and he was walking along the corridor with his kind of, his entourage, and there was a guy sweeping the corridor. He was the janitor, and he had a badge said janitor and his name the other side. We'll just call him Bob. And President Kennedy goes up to Bob and says, so what do you do here at NASA? It was obvious, he's the janitor, he's sweeping the floor. And without missing a beat, Bob said, Mr. President, I'm helping to get a man on the moon. The vision was the moon. They had outcomes at NASA in order to get to the moon. People had their own outcomes in order to meet the NASA's outcomes in order to get to the moon, and they were underpinned by that purpose and those values. What we need to do as leaders is make sure our people understand the contribution and that everything stems from our vision going downwards, and we evaluate its impact going back upwards. It's a really, really good way of looking at it, and a good way of identifying those outcomes in order that we can create that vision. And then it becomes so much more than just bottom line and profit, which for me is yes, it needs to be looked after, but for me is not inspiring. And obviously, let's not forget is, you know, in this digital age, how can we bring digital into this in order to make it much easier and much more effective? Another thing that we need to focus on, and I think being in a digital age, being in a digital world, there's a huge danger that this is going to become less and less and less. And we really need to make sure we focus on this. Studies were done at Harvard and Stanford universities together with Carnegie Foundation, and those studies showed that 85 to 87% of our success is attributable to soft skills, emotional intelligence, and personal skills, yet we only pay attention to them 10% of the time. In all the top organizations around the world, emotional intelligence in particular is the highest predictor of performance, yet we don't pay enough attention to it. So as leaders, we not only need to be developing our own emotional intelligence, which is our self-awareness, how we manage our emotions, our own motivation and sense of purpose, our own empathy and social skills. We need to help our people. And I think there's a danger in the digital world that we can neglect these, and that 10% time is just going to go even lower. But yet we can't, because actually people skills and personal skills and this connection, even in the digital world, is still absolutely critical and accounts for 87% of our success. A few other things that leaders need to do in order to lead in the digital world or in any world, in my opinion. They need to be able to flex and adapt their style. You know, think about employing situational leadership. Lead depending on the situation and the person that you're leading or people that you're leading. You have to be able to flex and adapt as a leader. It's really, really crucial. And situational leadership is a great leadership model, along with action-centered leadership as well. Go and look them up. They're really, really useful models to use, and something that we talk about and explore in our leadership programs. Again, manage the stuff and lead the people. Do not manage people. I cannot stress that enough. You should never have to manage another person. Manage the stuff, lead the people. This is really important. Foster safety and build resilience. What I mean by safety is psychological safety. Which enables people to be themselves, to contribute without fear of recrimination and being told off and being made to look silly. That as leaders, we have to foster psychological safety, and out of that becomes creativity and innovation. And that's really important in the digital world. We have to be creative and innovative. But if you don't foster that psychological safety, people won't stick their head above the parapet, put their hand up and offer those opinions or those ideas. They will be scared to. We also have to build resilience in our people. So we have to focus on looking after people's mental health and connecting with them. We have to communicate, talk, be visible. Don't be like the leader I was speaking to this morning, and I speak to a lot actually. I'm not just going to single them out. I just don't have time. We are leaders for our people. We don't have a team for us. We have a team so they can be their best, they can reach their potential, and they can create amazing work and do amazing things and to help have that great impact. We are there for them. They are not there for us. So we have to communicate, we have to talk, we have to develop them, we have to be visible at every single opportunity. And whether in the same room or the same building, or for me, there's no excuse. And being digital allows us to do that even more so. You know, we have the platform we're on now, we have Zoom, you know, we have WhatsApp, we have FaceTime, all of these different tools. Use them and be visible and talk to your people as much as possible. We need to build high performing teams. There's 5 areas that will destroy a team, and it's these: lack of trust, fear of conflict, lack of accountability, lack of commitment, and inattention to team results. This is based on Patrick Lencioni's dysfunctions of the team. Go and look it up, guys. We need to overcome them and turn them into strengths, not dysfunctions. We have to build teams. We have to build teams that are together behind a common cause, behind a common purpose, a set of values and a vision. We should use tech to connect and collaborate, not to hide. That's really, really important. As leaders, we are there to inspire through purpose and vision and values, and to enable and develop our people to get the very best out of them, to help them realize their potential. It's not just about ticking off the jobs list. We need to anticipate and embrace change. That is absolutely crucial. We need to create the right environment. As leaders, our job is to create the right environment so our people can flourish and get the stuff done. That's what it's about. And we need to build community and culture. And I think we can do that even better and even more so through digital. Here is a model that we devised here at LYL a couple of years ago, and it really encapsulates what I feel leaders, or what we feel leaders need to do. We need to help at step 1, our people understand where they're heading. This is the vision, the purpose. They have to understand the why. That's really, really crucial. And we have to communicate that and demonstrate and drill it home at every opportunity. We have to go out and find out stuff. We have to develop people. We have to coach them. We have to train them. We have to find out how to do stuff in order to move on. Because as leaders, our jobs is to get people and our teams and our organizations, communities to the top step. So we evolve. If we don't evolve, we die out. It's as simple as that. Once people have found out how, they have to be able to apply it. We've got to create a safe environment where people can apply stuff. They then have to be able to tweak and adapt. They have to be able to make mistakes. And as leaders, we have to create the environment that allows them to do that and allows them to improve. In order to improve, we've got to have really solid objectives and outcomes and a solid strategy that we can evaluate, which we do further down the staircase. But once we see improvements, we'll start changing habits, and we will change. Change is the most you can't escape it. It's the most common thing in the whole wide universe, but we fear it. But if you look and apply these steps, change just happens. You have to guide people through change. You have to give them the information and the data and the tools to be able to change. And when they change, they evolve. How do I know this works? Well, because of what this man said, President Kennedy, in 1962. He said, we choose to go to the moon and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they are hard, and because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. That was the space age. We were moving into the space age when he said that. We are now in the digital age, but leadership isn't any different. And NASA had to go through those steps to success to get people to the moon. And why should getting to the moon be any different than moving into the 4th industrial revolution or leading in the digital age? It is no different at all. We have to help people through that change. We have to help our people and our communities and organizations into the new age through our leadership. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, just on time. Thank you very, very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it's given you some food for thought.